this one, just because it's simple and it's going to be reasonably easy and quick to edit, but it will show all the different sort of editing techniques that I use, so I think it's a good one for that.
Okay, cool.
There's a few stray hairs which will be a bit of a bugger, but everything else looks pretty straightforward. There's not much I want to do in RAW. Maybe just tweak the exposure up a touch, a little bit of contrast, but photo's fine as it is really. Most of the changes are going to be sort of skin and a bit of colour. So
do you try and keep it minimal?
Yeah, pretty much. It's if I get it right in camera, then I don't have to do much editing, and it keeps my workflow nice and short, which is good. So we'll go with that. So I usually start with the skin. Oh.
Nicky's skin isn't too bad.
No, it's pretty good. There's just a few little bits here and there, but most of them can be sorted out with sort of a patch tool.
I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to lie. So this is goodbye. This is goodbye.
I'm pretty pleased with that now, so what I do now is a little skin smoothing technique just to put over the top of the changes I've made, which is reasonably quick and simple, and it breaks one of the cardinal rules of skin smoothing, which is using a blur filter, but it sort of deletes the blur filter at the same time, so you don't actually blur the skin at all. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. So, oh, that's wrong. So,
where's my actions?
Yeah, where am I? So you just sort of select the skin as best you can. That'll do. And then, where's mask mode? Mask mode is disappeared.
And so what have you done here?
I've just selected the skin, but it's selected a few other things which I don't want it to select, so I'm going to try and stand here. Just delete the areas I don't want selected. Using the brush. Ideally brushwork. If you've got a stylus, use the stylus because it's a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I was strangely enough, because I used to do a lot of editing on a MacBook Pro,
yeah.
I used to use the tab quite a lot, and then when I made the transition over to desktop computers, I actually bought the tab, the tablet version that comes for iMacs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so for a long time I was editing on one of them using my fingers, and like for mice I just can't use mice at all, but eventually when I tried out a pen tablet, just it seemed strange. It was a difficult learning process, but yeah. Now I can't imagine.
Oh, it's so worthwhile
not using it. Yeah, I always say when people don't use one, all you've got to do is spend a couple of days
learning. Yeah.
And just even if you're just browsing the internet or YouTube or Facebook, do everything, press every button with a tablet. You know, learn how to.
Yeah, it speeds you up so far.
Yeah, it's incredible the difference it makes.
So that's pretty good. It's going to bleed into this because it's all soft and feathered anyway, so that's pretty good now. I'm quite happy with that. So duplicate that selection twice, and select the middle one, and do surface blur, and I choose roughly the same thing every time, which is about 25 pixels, and then radius about 20. That'll do. It's one of the slowest filters to apply, I find. And then a high pass on the top layer.
Do you often get asked how you do this kind of stuff?
Sometimes, yeah. And
Because
then-
your pictures look quite natural.
yeah.
And that's quite subtle. That's not too hard.
And then you just drop the other one down to 50%. And I'll show you what that's done. If I just click this off,
Right, so the texture's still there, isn't it?
the texture's still there, and you've got a slider for how much you want to add.
The opacity. So.
Yeah. So you've got quite a lot of control over how much you want to add. Because sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's not enough. But usually 50% is about right. I'm not too displeased with that at all. And the redness on the it can get rid of it sometimes. It hasn't this time. I was hoping it might. You have to flatten that. You can't make too many edits with that going on in the background. I would like to get rid of this redness because that's going to be a pain in the bum. Let's try the clone tool. It's going to be a bit trial and error this. See what works best.
Clone on low opacity or something.
Yeah.
Fronting. Well, one I've recently been doing is just getting a brush and selecting a similar skin tone on a low opacity. Kind of just like fake makeup.
Yeah.
Looks pretty well. That looks alright.
And then maybe just blend it in with the shooting brush. It's one of those things when you're editing something like this, it looks wrong until you zoom out a couple of times and zoom back in, and you actually realise that you're close to being done on it.
Yeah.
It's better than it was.
I would say that typically your pictures have kind of like a nice natural fresh feel to them.
Yeah.
Is that something you do in colour or in camera?
I do change. I tend to change the colours quite a lot, which is sort of the next step. That will do. It's quite a minor part. So yeah, now I'll be looking to sort of increase some colour into it, increase some contrast into the photo. Because although it's pretty good, it's not as flat as it might be. A lot of photos can start life out quite flat, but this one's pretty good. So what I'll do is I will set up a duotone. So I'll select all, copy the whole document, then open a new document, paste it in, then I will grayscale the new document, which we need to flatten, and then make a duotone. It's quite a nice sort of soft image this, so let's go for a sort of light blue to start with. Okay. Just drag that out, and then shift and copy it over, and that will copy it directly over. And then there's a number of different things to do. I just tend to do a combination, but this I'm just going to drop down to 20%. You can keep it on normal, or you can just go with the colour, and that will keep the luminosity of the picture. And that basically acts as a sort of desaturation, and it will give you a sort of slight colour cast that you're after. But you need to balance that. If you choose a cool one, you want to balance it with a warm one. Or if you choose a warm one, you can balance it with a cool one, you get a slightly different effect. So you just go back to the other duotone, the duplicated one, and then balance it off with a similar sort of colour, opposite sort of colour. Again, drag, shift it over.
This look has definitely become connected with your style, hasn't it?
Yeah.
That fresh kind of clean image.
And you can, rather than keep it as a normal layer, do it as a soft light layer, and you get a slightly different effect. Not too much though, because you want to balance them so one isn't overtaking the other. It does desaturate it though, so you need to bring that back in with something. Quite like that. Oh, wrong one.
What kind of time would you spend on a picture usually?
10, 15 minutes. Usually, maximum 10, 15 minutes really.
Is that as a rule, or just
No, I mean,
how it happens?
it can vary. It can vary. So all these sliders and stuff end up usually ending about a sort of 15 to 20% mark, just to keep the changes subtle and what have you. You just build them up until you're happy. I'm quite happy with that. It looks natural. It's nice and warm.
Is this how you'd finish an image?
Yeah. I mean, I finish with a crop usually,
But this one's...
but yeah, it doesn't even just slither off the left-hand side.
No, this one's pretty good anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Just check the sort of curves and levels. You can usually brighten the picture. Oh,
I actually really like that effect. It's really good. Just lightens up that shadow a little bit,
yeah.
but still keeps it as a shadow.
So it's usually just a case of sort of just playing around with it until you're happy. A bit more contrast in there. Just keep an eye on the histogram really, make sure the ends aren't going over. That's when you get sort of burnt out spots and blacked out blacks. But I quite like that.
It's nice.
Reasonably pleased with that.
Hopefully our viewer will have learned something. And thanks for sharing your knowledge.
That's alright.
It's,
So let's flatten that. Oh, where's command control?
cool. That looks good.
Excellent.
Looks nice. And there you have it.